Like you come up and do that.
How many of you, I know you guys are way more versed than I am on the quantum energy. I have a few notes so I don't deviate about it, but I want to interactively ask you, how many of you identify as a sensitive, intuitive child? And have you reconnected back with that inner child?
Yes. Go within.
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's see, where do I start? Okay, so as a quantum energy healer, what I do is that I work with people's quantum energy field so that I can assist them to transform their energetic blockages and limiting patterns into their self-activation of their healing into consciousness expansion. Because with understanding, that's when true healing happens. And it goes way beyond us. We understand how energy manifests. And so whenever I'm assisting, I am simply a conduit for that energy to run through. And what it allows me is that all elements of perception are integrated when I have a session. So even though one same person can come across with me one day, another session will be completely distinct and unique and perfect. I'm good, okay. I'm like sensing the room to see how we're doing. Okay.
I got a bridge.
Alright, so it's a little bit, I love this crowd because I can talk clearly. Yay! Yes, but it's challenging in this day and age when so much people are awakening, and they are awakening to the illusion of this third dimensional reality, which we all voluntarily decide, I want to experience it, what is going on, and things just don't make sense. And so when people have had that disconnect into their inner wisdom, it is challenging because we all went through it and it manifested in different shapes and form, and they are all perfect, which our ego mind doesn't like that because it cannot rationalize it, it cannot structure it, and therefore there's like a little bit of a glitch. Like literally, like how the heck this is not resonating and everything else makes sense, or this doesn't make sense, but it just feels so true to me. And that's where I come in and with my own energy field, without permeating into theirs, provide them that comfort and that understanding that yes, if you allowed yourself for that inner voice to speak through you, you are going to discover far more than your logic mind can understand. And so that's where the intuitive grandma and intuitive mother, even though when I was growing up as a child, didn't have clear understanding of energy, but we all just knew that if it felt right, that was the way to go. My parents married 17 days after knowing each other. I've been with my husband since the day we met. Little did I know that we've been doing the same thing many incarnations before at the time. But it's just, you just know, and it's not physical, it's not intellectual, it's just annoying. And it's the same thing that happens when you cross paths with somebody, you're like, wow, I can speak to you and I just feel comfortable. And there's no judgment. Are you from here? Like, are you really from here? Am I going nuts? And so bringing that intuition into my life provided me that comfort that even though the intellectual was still very dominant, there was still that open window that I could access later on. It's like a story I'm sharing about me. How it all makes sense. As a kid, as an empath child, I did not know that I was receptive to other people's emotion, that it was very overwhelming without any guidance, because how is it that I feel so different and I'm doing exactly what I'm being told? I'm being a good kid, I am listening, I'm doing my good grades, but this is too much, this is just too much, and I don't have anybody to talk to. And then you start making this picture, which usually it's not your best picture. And you will cover yourself under the blanket as a kid and have all those ill thoughts and start perceiving all that you were welcoming with that distorted energy, which was very intimidating because then all this matrix manipulation of media, of indoctrination, of schooling, of cultural belief, religious dogma, they really take you to another place that is not that great. So as a child, it can be extremely overwhelming when you're an empath and you have that communication, but you have that disconnect to discern and understand and reclaim that confidence within you. That is all for a higher purpose to transcend that. And that you made those scenarios to come and be where I am today. It wasn't until I became a mother that I was able to understand how my experience, doesn't matter how many times I repeat this, were to teach me to recognize what my child was going through. When she was talking in the middle of the night, just sitting down with a 9-month-old baby, just having full-on conversations.
Wow.
And she's unaware of what's going on. But when she's waking up in the middle of the night, just absolutely terrified, but still does not have the language to express to me what was going through her. And I didn't have the understanding to know that she was overwhelmed of all the energetic perception because her ego development was still in absolute awareness, far beyond what my intellect could rationalize. Keeps going on, have a second child. And this second child, boy, that one came very clear. The one was completely clear. She was determined to come through, but this other one just flipped the whole scenario and showed me another part. They came in a duo, and they are clear on their mission, which is a very huge difference for kids nowadays. They know what they're here for. And it's our responsibility as parents and as adults who are awakened to this higher consciousness to provide them the guidance and the support. And so I know that as a mother of an intuitive, of an empath, or a highly sensitive, which we can be very insensitive as a humanity, to provide that channel of communication, to remain open, to be supportive. And so when my first daughter turned 5, my children were 2 years apart, I said to my husband, okay, that's it. That's it. This is not possible. She's a good sleeper. She's well taken care of. I am doing my due diligence of following my intuition. Something, I need to look through other avenues. And that's when I started my personal initiation to look for alternative ways of understanding. Boy, I'm still on that. And so that was my first encountering into seeking the assistance of spirit. Even though I couldn't quite understand, I was very blessed that in my life path, I had designed to not have too much of the religious dogma, which allowed me to be open and to consider other ways of energy manifestation. And it took me into understanding herbalism through essential oils to incorporate for emotional support. It took me on to actually have a diploma in organic skincare formulation so I could assist the manifestation that my child was having topically. And then understanding that this vessel is the last layer that our energy communicates to us for our awareness. And that's where I feel that my pre-kindergarten awakening began after being a mother. 2020 comes. Oh my goodness, what a blessing in disguise.
Love the disguise there.
What a blessing. At this time, I have 1 year with my skincare company. I have been creating it for five years development. I mean, I knew as a child it was clear. I have a higher purpose, and because I'm using my heart as my guidance at the time, I thought it was that. Little did I know that it's what I am today. And maybe it's going to change in 5 years and it's something else. But I'm still using that as my North Compass. And so it comes And they're putting all these towers, which if there's going to be a stream on YouTube, I cannot say it, what it is, but we know what it is. All the number 5s are placed, and I start picking up on all of these electromagnetic radio frequencies, and it's overwhelming me. And I have no idea what's going on. For 2 weeks, I was just out. And so my husband buys an EMF recorder, and it starts going all throughout the house. Every single outlet. The Wi-Fi, it's off. We start going around the house, everywhere. That's when I started recognizing that I am sensitive to electromagnetic. We are all sensitive. It's not just me. But I was hypersensitive in the perception because I was able to recognize that the overwhelm, once my husband picked up what was within our close encounter, I immediately started to feel good. Like, okay, something's going on. So that's going on. My motivation for the skincare company that I had just created, it's gone. It's like the reset button was hit. Boogity. And my last post in my social media was, I'm going into an inner journey. And I started going within. Going within, created a practice in our whole household into learning what was meditation, that inner conversation to start seeing those pesky traps of our ego mind try to take us away because it's been so used to being in control and not in the co-passenger seat. And so like, no, be pretty, stay there, we're good. And so from there I started going to expand this awareness. I had an individual that came to me and very openly asked me, have you ever considered life outside of Earth? I'm like, yeah. You really think we're the only living thing? Like, really? No, go ahead. Just don't worry. I'm not judging. I'm opening. Let us go ahead. Let's have this conversation because those of us that started questioning this common narrative, we were the crazy ones.
Right.
I'm like, well, I prefer to be crazy than just follow because that is not in sync with me. But I respect each other's journey because we're all decided and designed to be this way. And it's all perfect. Going from there, I kept hearing everybody, okay, I'm learning about galactic history. I'm starting to remember that I already had information about the energetic body when I was 16 because I shut down my gifts because it was so overwhelming. And I didn't have the guidance. So here I am, waking up to this new perception, like, I want everything back. What do I do? Where do I go? Where do I go? Who do I call? What is it I do? Do I have to do a meditation? Do I have to do a practice? I mean, what do I have to do? Oh, you have to connect with your heart. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do that? We've been so focused here. How do I do that? So I studied how to connect to the quantum realm. Ooh. That was fun. That was fun. And then I started learning what it was to go travel into parallel realities, go revisit past lives, and have multidimensional experiences, all the way from the lower consciousness to the highest divine, but no fixed structure, because that's the beauty of a right side hemisphere. It doesn't know label, it doesn't know time, it doesn't know structure. It is really like a kid's playground. And so when I understood that that was part of who I am today, I was able to start healing from those experiences that I labeled as traumas, as dramas, of limiting patterns. It is still an ongoing journey. I'm perfect. I didn't came here to say I'm perfect. No, it's a learning journey. But I can now take away the self-judgment, the self-pity, and shift from being the victim to a higher awareness. Okay, when something's showcased, what is it that I'm being reflected? May that be the individual who I'm speaking to, or may that be the little trigger of that burn meal that I just cooked right now. Like, what was it that was going on? I was able to start picking up all the different ways of communication their higher self was bringing to our awareness. Because we all as souls decided to come here to evolve, to experience this polarity and to be both in alignment and to reconnect back completely from the heart at all times. So yes, it is a learning journey. And when I come and I sit with other person or I start talking to them about what I do, it's hard to define because why should I just limit myself to a preconceived definition when there is so much that can be experienced? You are perfect, you are perfect, you are perfect, and you're all unique, yet we all have a physical vessel. We all have human needs, but we all have our own understanding of what's going on energetically and physically, emotionally, and mentally within us. So there's tons and tons of complexities happening with each one of us in each one of our thoughts, each one of our actions, each one of the steps we do in our life, at work, in our social environment. We're co-creating a new reality, which is why 2020 has been such a blessing. If you cannot see that 2023, well, maybe you'll come around and whenever is your wave to wake up, and it's all good. I am moving further than just staying dormant and being the victim of the system. I'm choosing to create a new reality. How? Focusing on me and how what I discover within me can be of service to others to experience for themselves. I am not here to be the handicap or the crutch for somebody else. Come, give me some energy. No. No. Let me show you. Let me show you what I discovered. Let me show you. Let's go over here. Let's raise your frequency. Let's tap into this vibration. Now let's go ahead and figure out what is the psychosomatic reflection that is showing up in your life that you have yet to recognize and detach the emotion so you can have the awareness. What is it that you want to move forward? You want to stay here? Or what is it that you want? So that you can consciously shift to this new reality that is not only going to benefit you, but everyone around you and generations forward and past. Yeah, it's good shit. So yes, when I started understanding what was the awakening that I was experiencing, I was starting to recognize and have the understanding of what was the clarity of my soul's calling. I started to differentiate what was the identity of the character of this physical materialized version of Jessy versus this soul who can tap into all those multidimensional versions of self and learn from it and have that communication. Not that here, angels or whatever, come through me and give me. I am the same creation that all is. I am simply an individual expression just like all of us are. So there is no special character and there is no little or big one. It's all the same. It's absolutely all the same. So I'm not just Jessy, I'm not just the wife, I'm not just the mother, I'm not just the daughter, I'm not just the woman. I am divine feminine and masculine with the divine energy manifested like each one of us. Embracing this divine knowledge in all forms of communication, that's where my intuition came in. I'm like, oh, Grandma, thank you for always teaching us to follow it. Because our intuition, as we know it, is our inner voice, is our highest wisdom, speaking to us and through us. This empathy that maybe could be crippling at times, it's a gift. Because it's a new form of communication that is not limited to the 5 senses. And I don't need to doubt it. Once I can discern when it's the ego that's trying to be tricky on me, that's where the intuition comes in. I'm like, girl, I got you. That's the ego. You got this. Don't worry. It's fine. That's where the clairsentient, the clairvoyant, the clairaudient, all the clairs come through. It is beyond limiting. Some people can get pictures, some people can see a movie, some people can hear things, some people can feel things, taste. I experience it all when I'm working in the quantum energy field because it's all forms of perception. energy is information. So we all know that everything from that little itch, that ill thought, that misstep, that pain, it's all communication happening over and over again. I understand now that what some may call mediumship or channeling, it's a gift that I have to share, because some people, when I say some, is that we're not all in that level of awareness, and it's fine because we all create all the qualities of our character. It's not that you're handicapped from having that enabled function, but it might just not be yet the time, or maybe for your character, that's not a function that needs to be activated, and it's still perfect, but all those features are available in your program. They're all available. Some of them you could be like, you know what? Let me do this new update. I'll put this feature now. And that feature, it's there. And so when I'm working with a client, that's a benefit that I can bring through, and it happens randomly. It's the last time I had a client, I was literally just having a conversation, and this spirit just came through. I'm like, oh crap, this is not for me. So I just have to, it would feel like regurgitated, but think of it as a speaker. You're just bringing the information through, which the intention, if I'm connecting with my heart center, the intention is that that information may resonate for the individual that I'm assisting. So yeah, when we start allowing the ego mind, and the ego mind is not our enemy, its role is to protect us. We are unconditional love. And we're very vulnerable to the fugly of a distorted, emotional, imbalanced, misconstrued society. But if we are aware that we're not the identity ego, that's where we can best serve ourselves and others. And it's not selfish to focus on us. This is the domain of our responsibility. This is it. And what we do, like me speaking to each of you, whatever portion resonates within you, that's individually how I am assisting the collective. And your receptiveness and all that energetic communication that I have yet to understand or perceive, it's also nourishing, because energy flows, it gives and receives. It's constantly flowing, effortlessly, undefined, always there. We are living through a historical transitional time where it may be very obvious the different levels of consciousness. And we're all co-creating the reality that resonates within us. Once we start understanding all the trickeries of the mind, of our society, our culture, it's so mental. If you think about it, all those mental structures, and we start connecting back to the energy of the land, to the mystery of the higher realm, when we start connecting back to the imagination, to that inner child. Our inner child up to age 3 has 100% direct communication with Source. That's why they can perceive different. That's why they're absolute love, because they are pure. And the influence of the environment is what can shift their path. But they're going to find it eventually. May that be in this incarnation or another one. They're going to find it, and that's their life's journey, and that was their blueprint for their soul's learning. Living from higher consciousness in this duality, we can be spiritual, multidimensional beings, and yet as well have a human material reality coexisting within us. It is what we are doing right now. So the awakening of a quantum energy healer, my story, it's all that it is and is yet to be. Any questions for him? Does anybody have any questions for me?
Where is your family of origin?
My family of origin, my parents are from Dominican Republic. I was born in New York City, and at the age of 3, my parents decided that I should grow up on the island. So I mainly grew up on the island. I had students in the military, and after that, we're being able to come from different locations. I live in Alaska. Thank you. Yes.
Would you talk a little bit more about what it's like to be in the quantum field?
Yes. What exactly are you?
Well, I feel like I've dabbled. I went to one of Joe Dispenza's retreats and we meditated for like literally 4 hours, 3 different days. I had no idea I was capable of that. But some of the places that I went during that, plus hypnotherapy sessions, I'm just curious if your experience would resonate with where I went.
Oh yeah. Well, I in fact wrote myself the definition of quantum energy so I wouldn't forget. So here it is. I'll read it to you. You see, it's all perfect. So the quantum energy, it's all the consciousness that contains everything that exists. This is the quantum in the material reality. Including the energy and the frequency where we can heal the physical body, the emotional, the spiritual aspect of our existence. The energy healing works by attuning your energy to the frequency where the information is at for you at the time. So even within one meditation, you can go to different frequency and access different levels of information. And yet, when you're returning back to your physical reality, all that information that is within you that has been just recently accessed comes with you. It depends on you to maintain the awareness of well, what's that information. Sometimes the information can come like on waves, like sound waves, vibrational information that doesn't need to be translated into words. And so, yes, all that is information belongs within the quantum energy field. It all depends on the vibration that you are in order to access which frequency. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what you're saying is we're kind of a biological thumb drive.
Yes, we are. Yeah, just like crystals.
My daughter,
Yeah.
who's 13, is an empath, and she's been, like over the last couple years, getting severely overwhelmed with all this stuff she's feeling. And I don't really know how to help her.
Yes.
But then when I was listening to you and you said, under the blanket, I just saw in my mind's eye my daughter. And I just wondered if you have any advice on what I could do to help her to understand what's going on instead of shut down and block it out and have to
Right.
wait to rediscover the journey she's on.
Right. Well, that's. the
It's
reason-
hard for me as a single parent. I'm
Yeah.
like doing all the stuff to hold the household together. And I see this going on with her and I'm like, what do I do?
Right.
And then I heard you, so I'm like, maybe you got some advice to help me to nurture that,
Yeah.
her abilities as an empath and
Right.
for her to help discover her journey forward sooner so it's less of a struggle.
So I just recently launched a podcast, Parenting Intuitive Kids, precisely to provide that avenue of communication to open up, and I'll soon be starting workshops to assist parents and children that are intuitive on how they can harness their own energy, how they can clear their own energy, how they can practice meditation, how can understand their own communicational, I don't want to call them trigger, but traits, and to know when those self-doubt triggers show up. The podcast right now, it's available on all podcasts. I am the co-host and co-creator with another friend. Her name is Katie Patel, and she's also a hypnotherapist. And she is a mother of 5 as well. So I'm a mama too. She's a mama of 5. We're coming together, and we see lots of clients. So all that information on what the kids are going through. I have also noticed a lot of the kids. The first thing that I would suggest to you is to talk. Simple as that. Perhaps she can just start journaling what it is that she's experiencing and teach you to communicate back to her. We can be very, as we know, our mind can be our greatest enemy. But if you can just open up without any judgment, without any expectation, and let her know, like, hey, When I see you in pain, I feel in pain, and just validate, because empathy is that. It's feeling what the other one is feeling. And usually when we are empath, we are unaware, perhaps what you are going through, she is picking up and you're completely unaware. Up to the age of 18, our children are part of our own energy field. So this is a very good time, because also her ego phase, she's starting to develop her own ego identity from age 13 to 21. So understanding, not only is she transitioning to discover what is her, let's say, character's persona with her ego identity, but she's still also picking up on the information of the household, because she's part of your energetic field. So simply opening the conversation to acknowledge her and validate with her what she's going through. It's valid that she's not alone. She is not going crazy, and that it's okay to feel what she feels. You can provide her the guidance. Okay, what is it that you don't like? Can you recognize where this is coming from and what you want to do about it? Because it's all free will. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is she able to actually join in on a podcast where she can get information aside from me? Because sometimes she turns it in on herself. She thinks there's something wrong with her, and there's not.
No, but.
And then I'm dad, so she's like, "Oh, you're just guys don't know what's going on." She's a teenage girl, so it's kind of a struggle for me. I'm like, who else can she talk to or share with who might help to, have a different point of view? So I guess I'm just reaching out for different avenues.
I don't know what else to tell you.
If there was if she could join in on a podcast, and
Right.
maybe get some other info, she might go, "Oh,
Right.
I'm seeing things from a
Yeah,
different
the podcast is
direction."
completely free. It's on all platforms, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play. All podcast platforms have Parenting Intuitive Kids. And just because it's branded parenting, it's providing guidance. It's simply providing guidance. And then I'll have the physical workshop starting in April here in Anchorage at Leaf Breathe, Alaska specifically. So if you're in town, you can bring her in and both of you can attend, because it will be a parent and child workshop, because it is a teamwork effort.
Yeah.
They need the parental support, and the parent needs to understand that there are things that the child needs to understand on their own as well. But once that gap of communication has been merged and it's no longer there, you will see the shift. Yesterday, my girls were with me, and some of you were able to experience the difference when you do have an open communication. They can say, "Hey, I can see your aura. It's looking like this color." And they don't freak out for saying that. And nobody asked them, but they feel cold to say that, because they felt they were in the right environment to just say so. And if they don't like something or anything, they go ahead and say no. My youngest was one of those kids, we come from a Latino culture, and hugging and kissing and not respecting people's space is very common practice. Not to say that it's okay, but it's a very common practice. And the same way that a hug can provide you love, it can feel very uncomfortable if it's from somebody you are not interested in exchanging a hug. And my little one, as a little one, I'm talking not even 1 year old, she will say no. "Oh, she saw me." I'm like, "No, she's not being mean. She's standing her ground. She's setting her own boundaries." I wish as an adult, more or less, we set up our damn boundaries. And that's what I'm saying about the new kids. They are clear. And it's up to us to provide them that guidance. That's good that you already have that communication with her, and just be humble. Be humble, but embrace your feminine energy. You are nurturing that single parent part of you. And that's another thing. We need to break all this dogma that the feminine has to only look this way, that the masculine has only to look that way. We're all in this healing journey. But if we can both come back and give compassion to ourselves, just telling your daughter, "I may not have all the answer, but guess what? I went to this talk, and this lady who is a mom, who is an empath, has this option. Here, I'm just giving it to you. If you ever feel called to, here, I'm always thinking of you." And when she feels ready, she'll come to you and she'll pick that up. Or maybe she'll find a book in the library, or she'll hear something on YouTube. she'll find the way. Spirit works that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, okay. Yes.
How would we be able to reach out to you, and how much is a session?
Okay. My website is jessyfurniel.com, and I'm also on Instagram and Telegram. It's at JF_quantum healer. My sessions at the moment are $287. It's a 2-hour where it's 100% I rent a treatment room. And this is pricing based on right now, which is February 19, 2023. So this is an ongoing effort, but I'm also hosting monthly workshops or meditation events where you can have a first-hand experience as well. Later I'm opening more diverse options to be accessible. May that be one-on-one sessions or may that be in group environment. Does that answer?
Yeah, are you renting a place here in the Adams Center?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yay.
Yes,
287, is that a numerology?
it adds a
Okay,
abundance.
just check in there.
Yes, yes. You might have to say Katie Patel has something to do. She's a Feng Shui practitioner. So Jessy must add 8. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Have you ever experienced when you've had a loss of kind of seeing through their eyes, they're going back through their childhood? And have you experienced, I just lost my husband in April, and I was starting to feel his emotions and see things like through his eyes. It's like he was going back through his childhood. And now I'm feeling things a little bit of trouble spots in our marriage. And we were married 32 years. So, how do you clear that? I mean, is it possible that we are entwined, that I'm feeling that?
Well, first of all-
Quantum, it's inner child, but somehow or another I was feeling his emotions and his thoughts. The example is I had to go in to pick my grandson up from high school, and I was triggered to go back and see him as a teenager with some of the kids, you know, and feel his pain of not being alive anymore. Or it was different. It was different. And I just in the house I had certain areas of the house where I could feel him in where he was at. So is that unusual?
No, but the fact that that awareness is showing up for you, what I would encourage you is to take the time to meditate and connect with him and just visualize that you're actually having a conversation with him and have your answers directly from him through you. Does that make sense? Yes.
I am curious, and you mentioned this, we've been talking about this, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, but when you're doing a session with someone and you're in their energetic field and you're making that connection for them, ego excel, connecting everything to that higher inner knowing, how do you exactly know when you've crossed into their inner self, and how do you get out? Like, I'm really fascinated with that, and I don't really understand
It's
if you can put that into words of where that delineation is.
I can recognize, so when you're working with a client, you start picking up traits when the mind is speaking versus when the soul is speaking. And it's a knowing. It's like knowing when your child is lying to you when you're being honest, and they'll tell you exactly what you want to hear. You just know. The verbiage is the verbiage is different, the reaction is different, the emotional the energetic emotional communication is different. It just feels different. It feels different. And you start to understand, okay, this is the mind. So me, as the person who's guiding them, I need to recognize and kind of like, wait, take a little detour and let's come back without raising the alert to the ego mind to just be on this flight or fight. No, you're not going to get that information because that's too painful and I'm here to protect this person. But if that information showed up to be healed, to be acknowledged, to be transmuted, it depends on the individual if they want to move forward. I have encountered some really traumatic experiences with clients, and it depends on them to make the choice to stay in the victim mode and not take that dip step, or to just continue moving forward, because really in the quantum world there's no pain. That's human. And it's all awareness. We decide and we define this life path, all the experiences. But once we have that higher understanding, what was the higher purpose behind it, then you can see from this bird's eye view all the different pieces, all the different signs of our marriage, of our life, of all those different steps. And then you start seeing this huge picture. So I had to feel this way. So when I fell up and this happened, and then this happened, because I had that information within me and it had not yet healed. So when this happened in my life, this is the behavior of this little immature emotional being who's now in this stage of this life. But I know I want to go there, but this has not yet been addressed. So you cannot take a leap. If I go and misguide you and tell you, I can heal you, I'm going to do this healing for you. No, it doesn't work that way. Because guess what? That learning experience had not yet been assimilated. It needs to happen. The healer does not heal. I'm a conduit. You self-heal. Because without the understanding, it's just fluff. So does that make sense? It just, there's annoying. The energy feels different. And it's just like that gut reaction when you know somebody is lying, when somebody is not lying to you. You just know. It sounds different, it feels different, even tastes different. It comes with time. Yes.
Is quantum healing a modality that people can learn, or is this proprietary to what you do?
Oh, no, it's not proprietary to what I do. No, not at all. I've merged my training in hypnotherapy, my understanding of meditation, my understanding on energy, my intuitive understanding on channeling, on mediumship, my empathy. I've incorporated all of that, and because quantum is all, if that were to keep it on an open-ended title, that's where I use the quantum portion of the energy healing. But I don't consider myself like an allopathic doctor. Take this prescription, it's going to help you have this effect. The way I go about it is to assist you self-discover, self-heal, and self-access that transformation through understanding in your own language, by your own accessing, to have that integrated into your life. How is it going to manifest? We're both going to figure that out.
So more directly,
Yes.
is this a certification that people take?
There
Quantum
may be.
healing.
I did not have a
Okay.
certification.
That's
I
okay.
did study hypnotherapy,
Gotcha.
worked based on quantum hypnotherapy, if that's what you want to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you do any work in the greater field, not the individual, but let's say a society, a cultural, whenever there is, for example, like all the police shootings in the African American ethnic group, do you do any work? Because I mean, the quantum field, you can access just about anything.
If it resonates with you, I personally am focusing on the individuals and those that gravitate what I have to offer at this time. I know other people do grid work, collective, raising vibrations. my focus is on the individual understanding that by one individual amplifying their energy field, many other can have their own self-activation. That's how I work. Yes?
You mentioned that we discover these things about us. Do we not bring all that information, do we not have that information within, and we're merely enlightening it and bringing it forward to see it?
Exactly. It's all there. It's like in traumatic experience, you'll black out that portion of your life. You'll black out because that's the way the subconscious is protecting you, and that's the way the ego's role, which is to protect you from this being super vulnerable, unconditional love being. When you're accessing that information, it's always there. It's a matter either at what frequency is that information, if it's ancestral, if it's multidimensional, or if it's within your physical reality or incarnational. So accessing depends on the level of awareness you have to reach. What is the vibrational state to access that information? But you need to raise that vibration to the right frequency where the information is at. Does that make sense? Okay. Any more questions?
So when you're working, how do you blend the person's experience in with your knowledge of what's going on? It sounds to me like you see much more deeply sometimes than the person themselves does.
Right.
And how, if you experience resistance or anything like that, they want to convince you that they're right or that kind of thing.
I don't do the power struggle.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so how do you avoid the power struggle?
Well, before I initiate a session, there is an intention that is set in place. There's a reason why this individual first found me. There's a reason why they decided to move forward. And within that higher vibrational state of awareness, that's where I communicate with the individual. I really don't know what's going to show up. They don't know what is going to show up. I am simply a vessel to bring into words those other ways of communication that it's being manifested, so that I can bring it into their awareness if they're unaware of it. Sometimes within a session, a person could get a pain and they just dismiss it. That pain showed up for a reason, or a thought, or a sound. It's all communication that is happening. And so when I bring it into their awareness, hey, by any chance, are you perceiving this? Oh yeah, okay. And then I'll guide them, but I don't force it. It is always their free will. It is always their free will. I always make sure that I respect and that I don't go into the ego mind, into the savior. Because the ego could be either the victim or the savior. My stance is to be neutral. I am here to assist the person to access their own information, to activate their own healing. And my heightened awareness of all that is coming through, that's how I can assist the person. So yeah. It can feel when it's a very mental person that is almost a power struggle. I'm like, I'm not here to fight you. You looked after me, I went after you. Go ahead, sir.
You have lovely differentiations made up of yourself, or that you've learned. Now, the learning experience that you've gone through that most got your attention for the power thing was when you're learning yourself, of course the problem keeps refocusing you on it, if you will. How did you embrace that self-power struggle? I'll say it that way. There's so many ways of saying it. The thing that you were hiding in yourself, that you didn't want, whatever, how did you embrace that? How did you bring it in to the umbrella of the greater self that you are?
I still lost in your question.
How'd you meet your shadow side?
Rephrase.
Okay, so let me
Yes.
please. How did you embrace this beautiful quantum self
Okay.
that you're wearing now, that you're using now, and you're still learning,
Yeah.
as you said.
I'm releasing all expectation.
Expectations was a key to, which is like desires,
Expectations, the mind like structure.
different, little different.
No, just expectation. Just expectation in all shapes or form. So some people will ask, so
Yeah.
what's my galactic background? Why? You're a multidimensional being. Why? Everything is happening at the same time. Why? So I just release that. Now I can accept it all, and I can access it all without having limitation of expectation to meet that information.
You let go of self-imposed expectations, which narrow your path,
Yes.
is kind of another way of saying it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So like the gentleman was asking me, do you need a degree? Did you achieve a degree? Like I let go of it. I accept that all that I have access to, all my life experiences, all the skill sets, all this inner knowing, it's all accessible to me, and I embrace it for what I do. How I know I'm of service? When I can see the other person feeling happy, reclaiming their joy, self-discovering their own clarity in their life, then I know I did good. That when we connect with our heart center intention, it's not going to stir you away into the ego mind. I'm not here to be popular. I'm not here to be rich. I'm not here into the material. I'm here to create a whole new reality based on how I work in myself and how I can assist others through me and by me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Bobby, did you have a question?
I do have kind of, maybe more of a comment. I just, the advice that you gave to Sean with his daughter about giving her permission, that seems like also something so wonderful that we should be giving to ourselves. Give ourselves permission to experience the full range of emotions as they show up. And then that seems like the next step is, once you've given yourself permission, now as we begin to release those expectations and just accept what shows up and welcome it into it. And I've been sitting back here with this giant grin on my face, because if it was possible to design the perfect presentation to lead into what we're going to be doing next. This is it.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm up.
Thank you, Jessy.